Knicks fans, what's going on? I'm back tonight with Knicks and Bruises. I got my guy Sim in the building. What's good, Sim? Oh, I
There
think
we
you
go.
muted it. There you
Yeah,
go.
I'm good, man. I'm good.
No
You
doubt, no
know,
doubt. Appreciate you joining me. Another quick hits.
yeah, no
No, a little
problem.
short one. I got a couple of draft prospects I want to talk about. Um, Not necessarily guys that are on the top of my draft list, but guys that I think might be there if we move down a spot, or guys that might be there if the main guys I want aren't available. Um, I think they both will fill some type of need for us. Um, I don't know if both of them would be immediate rotation players, but I'm pretty sure with Tibbs being here and and the general consensus is we don't know any if any rookie is going to be a rotation player for us immediately. So that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up a few slides that I made,
All
and we
right.
get started.
Sounds good, man.
Um, so we got draft prospect. Our needs: a point guard, a versatile big, a defensive wing. Um, I only did two players tonight, but I think they both kind of fit into those needs category.
Mm-hmm.
So number one is freshman Jalen Duran. Um, from Memphis. He's 6'11", 250, got a 7'5" wingspan.
Mm.
Um, Played 29 games, 12 points per game, 8 rebounds, 1 assist. Strengths for him: size, athleticism, shot blocking. Weaknesses: the cutoff, but from my memory, I think they said he lacked the back to the basket moves and questionable about his motivation. Uh,
Mm.
Interesting enough, when I look this guy up and I look at some of his highlights, it gives me some flashes of Mitchell Robinson. Obviously not as tall. I believe Robinson was set to go to Memphis, if I'm not mistaken, before he decided not to go ahead and play in the NCAA. But definitely feels a need. If Robinson is gone, I think he's a little bit more versatile as far as putting up some shots, um, shooting the ball, but
Mm-hmm.
very very good defensive guy, and then that 7 foot wingspan, makes up for that lack of size out there. Um, and I know you said you haven't done much research this year on draft prospects, so this is more of some guy that I want you to go look at, and then
Mm-hmm.
when we get back to the big show, the Podfather show, we could maybe go into detail with some of these
Yeah.
guys I bring up to you. But
Yeah.
what do you thought so far?
Yeah, I know. Like, I think he's probably a guy that the Knicks could trade down to get if they really did want him. I don't know. If the Knicks, let's say the Knicks are at 11, I don't know if you probably take him at 11 because you might be able to trade down and get him. To pull in some assets.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? If you want to. Now, how much is he going to compare or be like Jericho Sims? And do you want to have two of those guys? You know what I mean?
Good point. I think he brings a little bit more to the table. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, some of his player comps, and most of the time these things are like best case scenario
Right.
and not, excuse me, spot on comparisons. But two of them were Dwight Howard, which I can definitely see from some of the highlights that I seen from him. But the intriguing one was Chris Webber.
Yeah.
So this makes me want to do a bigger deep dive into him, because
Right.
if he could bring some playmaking from that center position, we talk about things that we're lacking on the team, um, and we always talk about the shooting from the big man, but what about that playmaking from the big man? from that center position.
Right.
So I'm definitely going to do a deep dive into him. You make a great point in the similarities between him and Sims. One other thing though, I think freshman and his potential as a
Yes.
freshman
Right.
compared to the 4 years of Sims, I would think his upside is a little bit higher at this point.
Right, because he's 18 and I think he'll turn 19, around November or something like that. So he'd still have a few years with Jericho Sims right now is already what, 20
24,
22. Oh,
3.
yeah, yeah, he is. Yeah, like 23, same age as Mitch. You know what I mean? So, you can look and say maybe he'll have a little bit more upside. You know what I mean? He's from PA. Maybe him and Cam are a little bit familiar with each other. He's probably, I'm sure he's younger than Cam, but they may have seen each other around the circuit a little bit. At
Absolutely.
some point cross paths, so maybe they're familiar with one another. Definitely, if you lose Mitch, I think he would definitely be a prospect that the Knicks would look at, possibly trade down.
And
Trade down to get, especially knowing that you may have to, in order to clear cap space for a potential signing, you may have to forego the qualifying offer for Jericho Sims.
good point. Great
You
point.
know what I mean?
Actually,
The thing
um,
is he a guy? I mean, if you're getting him around 14, 15, I don't know how much you're paying him, but maybe $4 or $5 million a year. Where right now you're paying Jericho Sims, very little. So I don't
1.8,
know,
right? Or 1 point something.
like 1.5 or something like that.
Yep. Yep. I mean, interesting points. Now when you have a rookie, is the money because you have to sign these guys, so there's really no negotiation with rookies, right?
Right. And you can sign them even if you go over the cap to sign them, you can still sign them.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
could wait on signing the rookie and use your space and then sign them
Right. Right.
last.
Right.
That's what I was leaning to. And then you brought up a great point, and that's actually the point of these first series of videos I'm gonna do. These are really guys that I'm not like not my first choices. These are guys that I'm looking to maybe knowing the Knicks history, move back a couple of spots, grab an additional asset, and save a couple $1 million because of the rookie scale of what pick these guys are getting picked at,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of be savvy. So because initially that's the first thing I think this front office is gonna do, or either move the pick, either move back on the pick, things that we've seen already from them, to acquire assets. So great point. I'll move on to my next guy, and this is a guy that not very many people are high on, especially as high as I am on him. But G League player, um, Dyson Daniels. I believe he's from Australia. 6'6". Some people have him listed 6'7", 6'11" wingspan. Played 14 games for the G League Elite or Ignite. Um,
Mm-hmm.
11 points a game, 5.9 rebounds, 4.4. I'm sorry, 5.9 assists, 4.4 rebounds, almost a block a game. This guy's strengths: ball handling, playmaking, leading the break, as far as passes it ahead to initiate the break. Biggest weakness that I've seen from looking all across these sites is his shooting, questionable, low shooting percentage. Doesn't take a lot of threes, or low 3 point percentage. But when I look at the shot, it doesn't look broken to me. Like it
Mm-hmm.
actually looks like a good shot. One of the things that I did miss that I'm gonna have to look up is the free throw percentage, because if that is still relatively high, that'll ease some of the concerns for me as far as his shooting. But when I look at this guy's highlights, the only player comp that I saw for him was Lonzo Ball, which I don't 100% agree with, but I definitely understand why that was the comp that was used. And then a lot of other sites didn't even have a comp at all. Like sites that are known for comps
Right.
had NA on them. So it's interesting. Most people don't have him listed as a point guard. If I was to, if we were to bring him in, I think that would be the best suited position for him, especially utilizing his ball handling, utilizing his facilitating. He has a high basketball IQ. Um, I really like this kid. I wouldn't necessarily get him at 11, like you were saying.
Right.
But if we could move back and secure him somehow, um, or we pick up a guy with the 11th, and then whoever grabs him down low is interested. I think he's a good asset. Him alongside quickly in that second unit, I think would be a beautiful combination. He can guard three positions. I've seen him listed at three positions, small, guard, forward, lead guard. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I
So,
value I value that a lot.
right. So where are you going with Quentin Grimes?
Uh, I mean, ultimately, as even though I'm one to say that Fournier did his job, I'd rather move on from Fournier, especially with him being one of the longer term contracts for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I
So,
mean,
so
Grimes
it,
would have to beat out Fournier for it. And,
right,
and, and, and this guy, I think no matter who we draft, he's not automatically in the rotation. You know what I mean? So he's gonna have to earn his way into the rotation as well. The same way I feel about anybody we draft, especially moving back.
right,
Moving back, that takes that pressure off. Oh, you used him with the 11th pick, and you got to start him. You got to play. You know what I mean? When you move back, ease him. Here's another thing that I thought about with him, which I know it
mm-hmm.
won't be a popular opinion amongst fans, but this guy could go right to the G League where he's familiar, and kind of earn his stripes there.
Right,
You know what I mean? Like he's signed, he can come up and play whenever needed or ready, but let him get more reps down there, and now you're repping the affiliate team and things like that. So he's a guy that I wouldn't necessarily be rushed to thrust in. Make him earn it. I think that's the Tibbs way anyway. So we wouldn't necessarily have to get rid of anybody. It's really about all these guys earning
right,
their,
right,
their, their
right.
spot.
Now, yeah, he sounds like he would be a good guy. Let's say that the Knicks trade Evan Fournier, right? But they still have their pick, but they trade Evan Fournier, in somehow, some way. You know what I mean? And now you're looking to say, okay, we're going to trade Evan Fournier, but we're going to move Grimes up. You know what I mean? And then and maybe Alec Burks is moved as well, and something happens with Derrick Rose, right? So you're clearing space out, and then you're figuring that Quentin Grimes is, I mean, Grimes maybe moves up to starter, or Cam Reddish moves up to be a starter, and then you're like, but now we're gonna have this guy who is gonna battle Grimes or Cam Reddish for that second unit position. You know what I'm saying? And if he doesn't get it, then he's gonna, you know, ride the end of the bench or play his G League role until we see what else might happen.
And I honestly, I see him battling Deuce and quickly if he's still playing second unit point. I really see this guy as a point guard,
Okay.
um, a big point guard. You know what I mean? I think that's where his advantage would be most utilized. That's where his strengths would be most utilized. He would definitely have to shore up his shooting, but everything else I think is at least formidable. Not elite. It kind of gives me the what the kid they call slow mo. He kind of gives me that kind. Was it Kyle Anderson?
Yeah.
Kind of gives me those vibes. I think he's a high basketball IQ guy. I think his defense is solid, but has a lot of room for growth in the sense that he's able to guard three positions right now, but he does have lapses defensively. Um, if his jump shot was better, I think this guy be a surefire lottery,
Mm,
like surefire, because he does a lot of intangible things, a
right.
lot of intangible things that makes the team
Hmm.
operate.
Yeah.
Um,
Eh, listen, the Knicks have done a really good job so far. Well, Leon Rose in the front office have done a really good job of finding guys similar to him, in that, 20, 20, 21, 22, 25 range. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be this, he's a point guard slash shooting guard. He's been able to get some seasoning in the G League, and you know what? It's going to be interesting to see how the G League grows and how these guys start to fare in the NBA.
mhm.
You know what I mean? How do you think him playing in the G League? How does that? How does that impact him playing in the G League? You got a guy you got guys coming out that have been playing in college. He's been playing in the G League. And do you think him playing in the G League, he gets better experience, better bump to
And
make him a better player? What do you think on that?
not only do I do, but what kind of solidifies it for me is I watched like an interview with him. It was probably done about a month ago. Some ESPN affiliation. It was a show that said ESPN, but I've never seen the show before.
Hmm.
But they asked him that direct question, and his response was, because the G League mirrors the NBA, so it's the same rules, the same time
Right.
length and quarters and game and
Right.
everything. I think that's gonna give him an advantage for some of the other guys in his range
Hmm.
coming in. Less than of adjustment. Also playing with guys, he mentioned this, on two-way contracts. So kind of guys more so playing for their NBA career rather than their NBA future. So
Mm.
Um, those guys were hungry, and he said he felt that. You know what I mean? Like, so he felt those battles with these guys. Like, he's fighting for a draft position, obviously, but these guys are already got one foot in, but technically one foot out of the league.
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
so
Right.
they,
Right. Right. Right.
they're giving it all.
Now, but with the guys that are see like the guys that were on that what the G League Ignite,
Mhm.
they're kind of like college players because they haven't entered the draft yet, right? So, well, I mean, I don't want to say all of them haven't. Obviously, you had some players last year, who entered the draft, but when a if they're still on the team, then they haven't entered the draft. I think, right?
Yeah,
Guys that's on the G League Ignite,
in
then
that
they have
particular team, yeah, I
that
believe.
particular team, then they haven't entered the draft. Um, so like I don't know if they have one foot out of the league yet.
Well, I'm referring to his competition,
Okay,
the
okay,
guys
okay. I
the
see.
guys he
Right.
played against. But speaking of his teammates, another interesting thing that he spoke about, because all of his teammates are pretty much fighting for the same thing. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like a certain draft spot, a certain positioning to get picked and to be valued and be seen. And one of the things that stood out to me was him speaking with current teammates of his and how they committed to sacrificing. So sacrificing some parts of their games to make the team run, and not necessarily all be going out for their own individual draft status, which really stood out to me as far as not just him, but crediting his teammates in that aspect, because you would think, you play on a college team, you got some guys that don't necessarily have NBA aspirations, or don't think they're gonna make it, or know they're not. You got other guys that know that I'm gonna be here 2 years, 3 years, so they're not necessarily fighting for their immediate draft position. Almost every teammate of his is fighting for that same kind of category. So for them all to like kind of meet and say, this is going to be about the team, and the team success will dictate our individual success. I think that was big of them.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like, and it seems like, through playing in the G League, through playing through the Ignite, like, you do get some experiences that you might not get in college that that can benefit you playing in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Because you're when you're in college, you're dealing with college men, young men. You know what I mean? When you're in that G League, you're dealing with grown men. Even though on your team you still got college age kids, but you're playing against grown men. You're feeling that grown man strength, and like you said, the urgency to play so that you don't get, you're not thrown out the league. Everything that you just mentioned. I think it does help those guys a little bit, just maybe kind of mature.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know.
He also talked about probably similar to the same thing that the rookies have to go through in their little rookie camp. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? They're going through that same type of experience, but for a full year. So twice a week they had a class on finances, and how to kind of maintain your finances, and not blow your money, and I forgot what the other class was on, but it was basically something pretty specific to NBA lifestyle.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So kind of not how not to fall into certain traps and certain loopholes and holes. So I think again that's another thing that it may not help him immediately on the court, but just first year in the league, first couple of years, he may not fall victim to a couple of you know booby traps that are out there for young athletes and young
Right.
rich kids. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I definitely like those two guys. If you get it, if you get some time, I would like you to do some research on them. Let me know what you think. And then the chat as well, man. You guys want anybody for me to feature or us to feature? Put it in the chat. Let us know.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm really, yeah, it's, so much stuff that I want to finish, just with the season, and then really get this deep dive. Like, I'm trying to time it so that I think the 17th is when the lottery is, right? And then boom, right when, as soon as that lottery is done, bam, we full fledged into just draft talk. You know what I mean?
nah, I hear you.
Really trying to time it like that. Obviously, though, I also want people to go to that draft party. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to do a little bit of draft talk too. So we can promote the draft party. The party's gonna be dope. We need to get some people out there. Y'all need to get out there. What y'all
Yes,
doing?
sir. Yes, sir. It's a 2 day event where we have not everything is established yet. We have a full lineup of events, but we got things that we're adding continuously to make the experience a little bit more better. Family atmosphere. It's annual, so we do it every year. Second annual. Come out, show love, meet the
Yeah,
podcasters.
right.
Shoot some hoops, drink some brews, talk about the draft.
Yeah, man. We shooting a video for the MBK intro. You know
That's
what I'm
right.
saying? It's gonna be the official video. That's gonna be dope. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot going on.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot going
More to
on,
come.
man.
More to come. But yeah, definitely in the chat. Let me know what you guys, who you guys want us to pursue. I'm kind of focusing on the 11th pick and later if we move back. Once the 17th hits and I see exactly where we fall in these standards, then I can really focus on a window
Yeah.
of players. Hopefully, I'm doing all this for nothing, and we get that top five.
It's crazy. Somebody said to me the other day, man, this will be the year. You know what I mean? Knowing that the draft is kind of this will be the year that the Knicks luck up and get that get a top 5 pick when they're not supposed to. You know what I mean?
Before we go, Sim, one question: if we got that number one pick, is there a guy that you at this point you would grab?
Ah man, if we got that number 1 pick, I might mess around with Chet.
You know what, Sim? I'm with you. I'm with you. If you check out I believe it's Queen's Court, the last,
Uh,
not the last Queen's Court. Yeah, the last Queen's Court, I believe. Monday we talked about that, and she's with Jabari. I forgot who else was on with us. They was with Jabari. I was the only one that picked Chet, and I'm like, at this point, you might as well swing for the fence. Um, but he gives them Porzingis vibes, which I understand, but I think he a little bit different than Porzingis.
and, especially, well, I mean, here's the wild thing though. If you got the number 1 pick and you took him with the number 1 pick, he's probably gonna get paid close to as much as Mitch, right? As the number 1 pick, I'm not sure what the number 1 pick gets paid, but it's gotta be close to 12, close
Yeah,
at least 10 million, at
yeah,
least 10,
at
close to
least 10.
12. You know what
Would
I
you
mean?
would you play him at center immediately? Because I personally wouldn't, and that's why I'm okay with taking him number one. Ultimately, I think he would play at the five. Um, and the funny thing is, I don't think he played at the five in college. Nope, he didn't. They got Simmer, I think the guy's name is.
I,
Um,
I think
the
the
big.
thing about him, and I mean, the dude is mad skinny. Like, he's kind of like Sean Bradley skinny. You know what I mean? He's not as tall as Sean Bradley, right? So, he's not as tall as Sean Bradley. He's definitely athletic. He seems to have a good touch. You know what I mean? The dude's gonna have to put some weight on like a mug, man, because he is definitely Sean Bradley skinny. So you're taking a big chance on the dude. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't take a chance on it. The dude's so skinny,
Nah,
bro.
don't back out on me now, Sue. I needed
He's
you the
so
other night.
he-
I needed you the other night when I was the
yeah.
only
I
one
mean,
that picked him.
he's so skinny. I mean, it does look like you could snap him in half.
It does. It does. It does.
You know what I
I mean,
mean?
it's the risk. It's the
But
risk you take. But we've
but
seen guys
the,
skinny like that that
yeah,
that didn't break.
right. And the thing about him is, because I've watched highlights and stuff on him, right? And I think he does a good body of absorbing contact and using that contact to push him into a shot or push him into a move. You know what I mean? So that to me, I think that kind of uh I can't say eliminates, but lessens the chance of injury, right? Because he does have he's got okay footwork. I think he has decent control of his body. And I
Body
think that's
control. Yep.
important. I think that's important to negating injury, having control of your body. You know what I mean? And he does seem to have decent control over his body. So maybe that's something that will help him out. But man, he's gonna get banged around in the league like crazy. My
Yeah.
gosh.
And
He's gonna get banged around.
I agree. I agree. But the body control, I agree with that too. I was waiting for you to finish, and I was just gonna say it's something about his body control that kind of makes me feel like he'll be all right. He takes contact. He
Yeah.
doesn't seem to like he'll get moved, but he doesn't seem to get pushed around. Now, granted, that was college, not the NBA,
Right.
but you
Right.
know what I
Right.
mean. But he got moved, but he didn't seem to be. It wasn't like they was ragdolling him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he seems to have some toughness to him that
He
um
does. He's got
he,
some toughness.
he showed immediate. You
Yep.
know.
He's definitely got some toughness to him. Um, he has the ability to put it on the floor a little bit. He's you know, I mean, he'll give you Porzingis vibes, but I think he's a little more agile
Mobile.
than
Yep.
Porzingis. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Which can help with that in that whole injury thing, right? Body control, footwork, and all of that. I think he's more agile.
Hmm.
So I don't see him as like Porzingis try to be a high flyer too. You know what I mean? I don't see him really trying to be a high flyer like that or anything.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know. And maybe he's meant to be that size. Like Kevin Durant is meant to be his size. Not much you're gonna do with Kevin Durant to put any more weight or muscle on him. You know what I mean? Maybe he's kind of meant to be that size, and while he'll be he'll play the 5 spot,
Hmm.
right? But on the offensive side, he'll probably be more out on the perimeter than inside posting up. You know what I
KG.
mean? Yeah, KG type of thing, right? So maybe he would be that kind of guy. Um, I don't know. I mean, the kid can ball. I could tell you that he can ball.
At least, even if you take it back, at least you gave it a fair, a fair shot. Because shout out to the queen, but she shut me down quick. And I like Jabari Smith too. I do. I think I feel like he's the safest pick
Yeah,
at number one. So gonna give you some offense, gonna give you some defense,
yeah. I
and
mean,
and it's shooting.
yeah. I mean,
So
the kid can shoot. Talk about Chet though. The kid can shoot. He's got a good touch when it comes to shooting the basketball. I think one of the concerns though is going to be defensively. What can he defend on the offensive side? All right, he probably be able to do what he can do out there, but can he defend against bigger centers?
and that's why I wouldn't start him at the five, because I think he's a great defender, but it's help defense. You know what I mean? You're not gonna expect him to hold his own against a center out there, NBA center, and block the shot. But if he could be utilized as a weak side helper, you know what I
Right.
mean? Somebody that's kind of pursuing the guy from the blind side. He'll
I
he'll
mean,
um
but
he'll give you that.
I don't even know if is he strong enough to defend fours?
I mean, not all of them, obviously. You know, not all of them, but I feel safer with him, against more fours than fives at this particular point. And I'm pretty sure he played alongside a legit center um in college. Like I don't know why everybody automatically projects him at the five. Now, granted, that's where he'll be the biggest mismatch offensively.
Right.
But
And,
but
and and that's probably why. He's 7 foot. He can go play out on the perimeter a little bit. You know what I mean? So it creates a big mismatch. When you're playing against some of your bigger, more lumbering type of centers.
yeah, yeah. But Sim, appreciate you joining me. Quick hits, draft talk. I'm gonna do two more next week. Hopefully you got some time. We get those guys in, and at least we'll have a brush up course before we get into the real breakdown
Yeah.
of some of these guys
Right. Right. Right.
um
Yeah. No doubt.
in the coming future. But
No
appreciate you
doubt.
joining me, man.
Appreciate it, man. No problem.
Shout out to the chat. Thank you guys for checking in. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe, and come on down to the draft party, man. Come
Yeah,
on
man.
down to
Do
the
that.
draft party. Be a part of the family. You know, we doing big things out there.
Do that. Get down to the draft party, man. Y'all gonna
Not
love it. Get down there.